Hello there, Al Murray here with James Holland. We are standing on the banks of the Rhine, just outside Oosterbeek, outside Arnhem, nowhere near the road bridge. And the thing is, you come here and the geography just rubs your nose in it every single time, like a naughty puppy. James, Nijmegen is really important, isn't it?
It is. It's very, very important. Key to the whole thing, really. Bridges
because by day 4 now, the morning of day 4, the Wednesday, you've still got the remnants of frost skies on the bridge, still just about hanging on.
Yep.
So if 30 Corps could drive across Nijmegen Bridge with quickly and dynamically and keep going and get to Arnhem, there's every chance they may seize the bridge and win the prize, the golden, fat, juicy plum that is the Arnhem Bridge.
Yeah.
However, there's a problem at Nijmegen, isn't there?
Yeah, because they haven't captured the bridge yet.
I beg your pardon?
They haven't captured the bridge yet.
But that
makes no sense at all.
It makes no sense at all if this is all about bridges. I mean, A Bridge Too Far, a bridge we didn't bother with, is a different film title, isn't it?
Yeah, well, and actually I'm off to go and see someone who has very strong opinions about all this.
Yes, who we've mentioned before in We Have Ways.
Yes.
And how we've managed to get our hands on.
R G Poulussen, he's got very strong views. He's a Dutch historian.
And he's got a book called Lost at Nijmegen.
Yeah.
Which is about, he thinks, General Gavin's mishandling of Market Garden.
Yeah, he's basically blaming him for the failure of Market Garden.
Yeah. Gosh, I like the sound of that. It gets us Brits off the hook. Jolly good. I like this Poulussen chap. He sounds like a marvellous fellow. He's also written a book about Arnhem called A Terrible Lack of Urgency or something like that. So, he's dished it out. So good luck with that. I hope people enjoy hearing James and RG.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing what he's got to say, I must say.
Brilliant.
Well, we've travelled south to Nijmegen, and we're in the oldest pub in the city called the Blue Hand. And what's that in Dutch?
De Blauwe Hand.
The Blauwe Hand. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. I can make that translation. And sitting opposite me is the legendary R G Poulussen, who Al and I have got to know from conversations on Twitter, and I've read your book Lost in Nijmegen, and I'm very taken with your thesis, which in a nutshell is that it wasn't 30 Corps being slow and it wasn't the British. Actually, the finger should be pointed at General Gavin and the men of the 82nd Airborne for slowing things up.
That's my view, yes.
So you've got it. You're not a fan of Lindqvist, who was the commander of the 508th Parachute Infantry Regiment. I should just explain that in the 82nd Airborne Division, there are 3 parachute infantry regiments, and to translate that into British, that's basically like a brigade of 3 battalions each. And the 508, Lindqvist is an interesting character because he's a bit of an administrator. He was a very good staff officer, but he hasn't got much of a reputation as a combat officer. And there's this interesting episode in Normandy where Mark Alexander, who is a much more of a natural combat leader, becomes his executive officer, his deputy, under Lindqvist. And you'd have thought it should have been the other way around, that Lindqvist would be a very, very good executive officer and Mark Alexander would be the commander, but it doesn't work that way.
No. Now, he was a very cautious man here in Nijmegen. But he claims he got orders from Gavin to dig in, defend the city. No, defend the Groesbeek Heights from probably a lot of Germans in Nijmegen. He dig in with the 1st Battalion, and he just waited for Gavin to tell him to go into the city and do something there, attack the bridge, perhaps.
Yep. And the big misunderstanding comes because if I understand it rightly, Gavin says to Lindqvist, "Go there as soon as possible," or words to that effect.
That's a claim.
But it's there's no confirmation that he gave that order at all. There's no written confirmation.
No, not at all.
And the second point is, what does as soon as possible mean? I mean, does that mean as the moment you arrive?
If you want,
or does that mean, it doesn't say, right, your absolute number one objective, absolute 100% priority is getting the bridge. And I'm going to recap a little bit, because for those who don't know about this controversy, basically what happens is the 82nd Airborne are given a pretty large area in which to operate. But it is up to the individual commander, in this case Gavin, to decide where his drop zones should be and how to deploy his troops, albeit in discussion with his subordinate commanders and also in discussion with Browning, Boyd Browning, who is overall in command of the airborne operation, the market bit. And there are these heights called the Groesbeek Heights, which overlook. They are 5 miles, so that's about 8 kilometers south east of the city of Nijmegen.
No, less.
Less than that.
Yeah.
5 miles. Let's say 6 kilometers, something like that.
Yes, probably. Yeah.
6 kilometers, and they are they're quite a pronounced ridge. It's quite they do overlook the city and indeed the river Vaal. Gavin does send some troops immediately towards the bridge crossing the Vaal, but it's not very many. It's like a company, isn't it? It's a battalion size.
Yeah, 2 companies.
Two companies.
A and B.
A and B company. And that is just simply not enough. So A and B companies, so what are we talking about? 250 men, something like that. Much greater concern to Gavin is capturing the Groesbeek Heights quickly.
Yeah, but the thing is, you've got landing zones, drop zones. That's in between the Groesbeek Heights and the Rijkswald.
Right.
It's a kind of...
The Rijkswald, the forest, which is sort of on the German border to the east.
Yes, correct. And the landing zones are in a kind of valley. So when you land there, you go towards Nijmegen, and then you encounter the Groesbeek Heights.
Yes.
So whilst doing that, you capture it.
Yep.
When you meet no resistance, and there was no resistance, the capture was immediately.
Right. So then get on with capturing the bridge.
Yes, and the Groesbeek Heights are overlooking the drop zones in a shallow valley, a perfect position to defend any German attacks coming from the Rijkswald.
But I would go a stage further, and I would say that the most important thing is to actually just capture the bridge, and you want as many troops as possible to capture the Vaal Bridge ASAP.
That's what airborne troops do. They have no heavy armor. Their main weapon is essentially surprise.
Yes.
So
get on with it.
You have to, because you're lightly armored.
But I understand the potential threat of the heights. You want to have the high ground and all the rest of it. But the point is if you ignore the heights, they don't even need to ignore the heights, because your point is that they can get them as a matter of course just by their approach to Nijmegen.
Yes.
But if you don't take the heights, you might later lose them, and the operation may be flawed. But if you don't take the bridge immediately, the operation will 100% fail. I mean, it just will. I mean, the whole market garden operation depends on capturing the Nijmegen bridge intact
and fast, because the bridge was armed with an explosive, ready to blow the bridge.
Yes. So when they're capturing Pegasus Bridge on D-Day, for example, the whole point is to get in there, get over it quickly, capture both sides of it, capture it quickly, and that's what they do, and they do it in a matter of minutes.
Yes. But Gavin didn't. He ordered his troops to dug in and wait for orders to go for the bridge.
But why do you think he does that?
That's a very good question.
He's an experienced combat commander. He's been in Sicily. He's commanded troops in Sicily. He's commanded troops on D-Day. He's incredibly experienced. He's worked from the bottom up. What's his thinking? There must be some chain of thought.
I really don't have an answer, or I can't speculate on that, because it's beyond my I can't
comprehension. Because it just seems so nonsensical to you.
Yes, it doesn't make sense. Airborne troops, they have to take advantage of the surprise.
Yes, it's a coup de main operation. That's how they're. I mean, that's the whole kind of.
I just don't get it. And after the war, he suggested that he ordered Lindqvist to send G Company towards the bridge and capture it. But I don't believe that at all. G Company did go to the bridge on the first day, went about a mile from the bridge, and then halted because there were no orders to go to the bridge and capture it. And the next day, the battalion commander Mendes.
So this is 18th of September,
Yeah.
Monday the 18th.
On the 18th, G Company did go to the bridge without awaiting orders and got to the bridge. And A and B Company from 1st Battalion still were around the bridge. The Americans were around the bridge, and then Gavin, I must say, on the 18th, Germans attacked the dropping zone, the landing zone, and one company came into some trouble, and Gavin, in my opinion, overreacted and withdrew both A and B Company at the bridge and G Company also at the bridge. I can't get my head around that fact.
So also, is there a reason why he didn't have a drop zone to the northern side of the bridge? Because he does that at Grave, and that's very successful. You know, they kick the bridge, and they've got troops at both ends, and that seems to be, wherever possible, the best case scenario is to try and send paratroopers, airborne troops, to both ends of a bridge that you've got to capture.
Yeah, it seems that Gavin wasn't taking too many risks because he told his troops to dug in and await orders when ready
But do you know any reason why he doesn't have a drop zone to the north of the bridge?
No. Could be...
is there any reason for it? I mean,
could be Brereton said no, or... I don't know. The same reason.
But if he'd gone towards if he'd sent enough troops towards the bridge across the Vaal on day one, on the 17th of September, he'd have captured it intact, no problem.
No problem. Only about 750 Germans were around the bridge at the end of September 17.
And you think they could have dealt with them, no problem?
Yeah. Paratroops. They can fight.
Yeah. So you live in Arnhem, and you know about the whole operation. You know about the history of it. I mean, what's your view of the wider operation? I mean, Market Garden, was it a bridge too far?
No, it wasn't a bridge too far.
You think it should have been achievable?
Yeah, a lot of things were not. How can I say? Didn't go
according to plan.
No, a lot of things. But still, had the bridge at Nijmegen been captured on the 19th, 30 Corps could have gone to the bridge in Arnhem. Not a lot of Germans there.
No, in the big scheme of things. So you think if they had pushed, if they let's just say, when they arrive when 30 Corps arrives on the 19th of September, so what's that? That's the
early morning.
Early morning on the 9th of September. Had they got there on early morning of 19th of September, the bridge was already in American hands, and they just hurtled straight across.
Perhaps the Americans could have gone further.
Yes, they could have gone. They could have been in Arnhem by the middle of the day, couldn't they?
Not a lot of Germans there in the island, the Betuwe.
Yeah. When you're talking about the island, you mean...
the area between Nijmegen and Arnhem.
Right. So they could have pushed on through very quickly.
I think so, yes. On the 19th or 20th.
Yep. And that would have been enough to save the town from...
I think so, yes.
And save the British people there.
Yeah.
Well, that's a fascinating theory, because, when you look at the plan for Market Garden, it seems like it's so dependent on so many things going right for it to work, which is certainly true. But... actually, what is amazing about a Market Garden is how much does go right.
Yes.
I mean, not right, but I mean, it very, very nearly succeeds. I mean, it gets closer than...
Despite the Germans.
Despite the Germans, despite the slowness of capturing certain bridges. So, RG, the 30 Corps do finally, the Guards Armored Division does finally reach Nijmegen on the 19th. Tuesday, the 19th of September. The bridge hasn't been captured, so what then happens?
Well, on the 19th, Americans approached the bridge. There's a lieutenant colonel of the 2nd Battalion 505, I think, Van der Voort, chosen by the Americans as the most capable of commanders. Afterwards, he suggests to High Command to take the bridge. Shermans are ready, he's ready with his battalion.
Yes.
And then generals say, no, we'll go tomorrow, we cross the Waal. And, but he's turned down, his request is turned down.
Right.
Lost opportunity, I think. On the 19th...
Do you know why? Do you know why that request is turned down?
No, I don't know. No. But a lost opportunity, I think. On the 19th.
Right. So there was
in the evening.
So there is an opportunity at that moment to try and catch the bridge that night.
Yes.
But they don't do that. So what happens instead?
The next day, the Americans crossed the Waal.
Yes.
And
well, this is the famous paddling
Yes.
across in their little boats, getting shot up.
yes,
The Irish Guards firing from the other side. And this is one of the most famous actions in American airborne
Yes.
history,
Yes.
folklore, mythology,
no doubt,
whatever.
no doubt.
No question about it. As featured in the longest. in
Very
British Too Far.
heroic.
Very heroic. And,
But in Nijmegen, a joint force of Americans and English also capture a side of the bridge.
right.
And they do it before the Americans that cross the Waal capture their side.
Right.
And not as depicted in A Bridge Too Far. There, the Americans capture the bridge and then the tanks come rolling across.
But actually, it's the other way around, is
Yes.
it? So, RG, you've taught me through your thoughts about Gavin. I mean, do you think this decision of Gavin's not to go all out for the Vaal, bridge across the Vaal straight away, do you think that cost the entire Operation Market Garden?
Yeah, I think so. Why not? He didn't succeed in doing his job, namely to capture the bridge, a very big bridge. When blown, no chance of getting troops across.
So, when people, historically, when people look at Market Garden, first finger pointing goes to or Field Marshal as he then is, Montgomery. How awful, what a rash decision, what an awful, objectionable person he was. Then it goes to other people involved in the planning. Then it goes to 30 Corps for being slow. I mean, there's a whole host of reasons, sort of the RAF not playing ball, all the rest of it. But no one, as far as I'm aware, has ever pointed the finger at General Gavin for the failure of Market Garden. But that is what you're saying.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, I've got to say, I think your argument is really convincing. I've always been a bit of a admirer of Gavin, but I am really, really struggling to understand what on earth he was thinking. I completely agree with you. I mean, and having been here now, walked the ground, looked at the Groesbeek Heights, looked at the geography of it all, looked at the decision-making process, it just seems incredible that he didn't go all out for capturing this bridge right from the outset. That should have been the first objective, the primary objective.
But the main objective was to go to the edge of the Groesbeek Heights and dig in and wait and see. That's just it.
Okay, and what do you think that decision cost? I mean, what the failure of Market Garden? What does that mean for? You're a Dutchman. What does that mean for the Dutch people?
Well, my father and his family lived in the south of Arnhem. They had to be evacuated, and they went to a little town called Nijmegen. That was, by the way, the official objective of Market Garden. Nijmegen is at the edge of IJsselmeer. But yeah, it was a hard time. The winter of 44-45 many people died of hunger. So big consequence.
Do you think the war would have ended by Christmas 1944 if Market Garden had been a success?
Well, there was a possibility. The objective was to go around the Ruhr towards Berlin. So why not?
At the very least, it would have saved an awful lot of Dutch people from the starvation winter.
Oh yes, certainly.
So in this narrative that we've all followed for the last 75 years, why is it that the one person we don't blame for the failure of Market Garden is General Gavin?
Well, he's a very smart, or he was a very smart man, and he changed his story about what happened along the way, and yeah, that's why I think he's a smart man, and he knew how to explain.
So he knew how to kind of sort of manipulate the press, manipulate the kind of political aspect of it.
He wrote 2 books explaining, between quotes, what happened. That helps.
Wow. I tell you what, ever since I knew that I was coming over here and I was going to be talking to you, I read your book. I've been pondering this and thinking about it and trying to sort of square away in my own mind what on earth was going on. And I'm completely convinced by your argument, but I'm also just left kind of thinking, I mean, it's just amazing, isn't it? I mean, it's an incredible story. And it is just extraordinary that he didn't go all out for the bridge. I mean, I absolutely can't square it. I know you can't. I can't either. I really can't understand it. It makes no sense whatsoever. Well, I think it's sort of time we had a rethink on the whole Arnhem operation, the whole Market Garden operation. I mean, RG, I've got to say, it's been fascinating to meet you. Really fascinating to talk about this. And wonderful to be doing it in the Blue Hand here in Nijmegen.
Good pub, yes.
And a very good pub, a very good beer. And I've got to say, it's most welcome at the end of a long day.